What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. I'm joined today with Lee Yoder. I almost said your last name first for no reason. How you doing today, Lee?
Doing great, Dan. Glad to be on, man.
Awesome. It's my pleasure, and I'm particularly happy because my favorite audience member is here today. Why are you here, audience member? It's because this is a chance encounter. I interview commercial real estate investors. I go through the 5 different motivations I find that are distinct among commercial investors, and I say which one of them best describes you. Then I pull out the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die with the 6 different roles in a commercial deal, and I say, hey, what's your core competency? What exactly are you going to contribute? And why am I doing all that? Well, I want you personally to get more effective at communicating on the topic of commercial real estate. So that's why if you go to dandoesdeals.com, which should be on the screen, I might get it later, but it's not there right now. If you go to dandoesdeals.com, you can download your own template and then print it out, and you can teach your friends and family and all that kind of fun stuff about how commercial real estate works. But more importantly, you get to know how my guest fits into that business. So before we get too excited, how about you introduce yourself to the audience, please, Lee?
Yeah, sure, Dan. My name's Lee Yoder. I'm in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. Trained as a physical therapist, did that for a while. Just felt like I wasn't super passionate about that. Started climbing the corporate ladder actually with the company. Was enjoying that job more, but just wasn't great for the family. Somebody turned me on to real estate, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Felt like, man, there might be another path here. So went back to doing home health physical therapy, but did real estate on the side. Built up a small portfolio, just kind of kept taking steps. We did a flip, we did a duplex, we did a 16 unit, did a few others, and then now we syndicate apartments.
Awesome. Sounds good. So let's go to the motivation piece. To do that, I click on this, and then I click on that, and then I hit this, and boom, there it is. All right. So I go through the motivations first because if you're new, you'll know why you're doing it, but you won't necessarily know what role you're going to take. So I go through these first. So the first motivation I found, some people, they already have the assets to make ends meet, but inflation rears its ugly head. So that means it's acquisitions time. So just to unfold that a little bit, if you rely on the cash flow that comes from your assets to make ends meet, then you're probably going to be making more acquisitions, because when inflation takes a bite out of that cash flow, you don't want to sell your assets. That's the entire point of being wealthy in the first place, is making sure that you don't have to sell the stuff you have. So that's the reason why some people make more acquisitions. That is not high on my personal list of priorities right now. My biggest one is trading time directly for wealth. I've got a background in technology. Specifically, it's CRM technology. I used to work for a CRM company, then I made my own agency helping CRMs, helping people integrate CRMs into their websites, do the 7 figures in sales a year, all that sort of fulfillment, blah, 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 blah. But the problem is, if you are making salary like Lee was describing in healthcare, you're also paying more in income tax. You're paying more in tax than anybody else as a percent of your income, just because it's salary or wages. So I was thinking, well, how do I pivot so that I'm accumulating equity instead because of its tax advantages? So that's what I'm up to. I'm going like, well, if that is the way where I accumulate more and I have to pay less tax, so I'm not giving away half, this is what I'm up to. But the most frequently chosen answer that I get is people are trying to take control of their time to some degree. I say fast track retirement because it really means like, well, do you want to work fewer months per year? Do you want to work fewer weeks per month? Do you want to work fewer hours per week? Regardless of what it is, this is what it is taking control of your time by fast tracking retirement. That's why some people are doing this. Maybe they want to become an accredited investor and live someplace where the cost of living is low. But the next group, they're never going to quit because they're too ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. They're looking for the generational wealth to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. So it's pure ambition is the reason reason why they keep on hustling into their 90s and keep on making more acquisitions. Whereas the last group, they're going to keep hustling, but they've maybe picked a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment, or maybe it's animals, or who knows what it is, but they've recognized that if you're going to make a really big impact in society or the world at large or whatever, having the financial backing has to be the best vehicle out there to pull it off. So the commercial acquisitions are more of a means to that end. So out of those 5 different motivations, Lee, what resonates with you? What describes you best? What combination of them?
Yeah, good. I love how you put that together, Dan. Certainly, I would say I have to identify with a couple of them because I think there's different stages. And so for sure, first it was like to stop trading time for money and to be able to kind of do my own thing and just seeing that like there's such a cap for me as a physical therapist. There was such a cap on how much I could make. And then, so, okay, I can try to save maybe this amount each year. And then, and it just very slow, just such a cap. And that's not motivating to me. I wanted to, have more power over my wealth generation. And then once I got into real estate, I really enjoyed it. So now I would say, like, as I'm getting into it and I've kind of reached that first level of financial independence where, well, no, not quite. I mean, I'm not to where I don't have to work and I have enough income. I'm not there yet, but I'm doing what I want to do and I have my own schedule. That's what I love that I have that already. I'm working for myself. Get to work when I want to, things like that. We still have to work, but kind of make my own schedule. So I love that. I enjoy doing it so much that I really kind of identify with the second one. Not necessarily that I want to buy my hometown, but like, I don't see an end to this. I'm not really trying to retire. I'm not one of those people. I'll never retire. I mean, I really like real estate. So I think I'll always be doing something in real estate. That's one thing I love about it. There's so many different things you can do. By the time I get bored buying apartment buildings, we'll probably start developing them or something like that, or I'll go buy something internationally. There's just so many different things. So I don't see myself stopping. And then eventually, Dan, I mean, I do feel called, as a Christ follower and someone who believes that we are, to be stewards of our money, that God is just entrusting, a certain amount of money to me. And for whatever reason, here lately, he's just been very generous. I'm really excited about what God can do through us for other people. And we don't really have that picked out yet. Cause frankly, like I said, we haven't kind of reached that first goal of like where the properties we own are meeting our financial needs. So we're kind of still hustling and just kind of building and putting everything back into the business. But we can definitely see that light at the end of the tunnel, or that spot where, man, now we'll start, it'll really start kicking in and we're going to have more than we need. So we're excited to bless others with it.
I love that. And that's one of my favorite things about this. And like, honestly, if I'm going to be really, really blunt, then I think that if you don't have at least one foot in real estate, I don't think you're even leaving the door open for retirement in most cases. Like if inflation keeps up anywhere near the pace that it is right now, those savings, it's really going to be bad news. But that is more the economy at large. So let's get back to real estate specifically by going through the different core competencies and roles. I'm going to take this right from zero so that you understand the different roles in commercial real estate and how my guest fits in. So first we'll talk about repositioners. Repositioners look at a lot of different properties because they're acquisitions people. They're going through all the paperwork. They're doing the math. They have a fancy word for that. It's called underwriting. Okay. And why are they underwriting? There are a couple reasons. First one is they have to make sure that the building that they're planning to buy with their partners or whatever, that it's actually making the amount that they say it is right now. But the other thing is they have to find upside. They have to find some way where they can get this property and get it generating more cash than it is right now. So they're repositioning, figuring out how to make some changes. And the tools that the repositioner has in their toolbox for upside, the first one is more efficient operations. If you get fewer of those Benjamins going down the toilet, then you're going to be making more money on the property. There are other things that are part of operations that might be a little bit counterintuitive, or you might not think of them, like bookkeeping. It's not just maintenance and whatever. There's also a marketing piece, which is one of my fortes, which is to keep the vacancy rate low. There's also opportunity for automation, use of technology, all that kind of stuff. But operations on its own, it's probably not enough these days because real estate is too hot. to find enough upside to really make the deal make sense. So the repositioner uses a second tool, which is getting the contractor team, getting a bunch of builders in there to renovate the place, do the value add, make the place nicer so that tenants are like, hey, I'd rather live in this place than the place down the street. That's what they're up to. But if the repositioner is from the internet like me, they got a great big problem, which is they're going to need a local. They're going to need boots on the ground who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. I don't even want to have to find my passport in an hour or two. So somebody's going to have to be there to make sure that the contractors are keeping the schedule, they're using the materials they said, they're not cutting corners, and then same goes with operations. And if all of those people were standing in a row, the tenants would say, oh yeah, those are the owners, but it's not that simple. The financiers are also involved, and the financiers, that's another opportunity for repositioners to find upside. If they have access to better loans, then they're going to be able to make better deals and make more money off their properties. But the financiers, the fund managers, the banks in general, they're going to want to know one piece of information that I haven't mentioned yet. And what is that? They're going to be saying, hey, who's your sponsor? Who's your KP? And in a lot of coaching programs, they gloss over this part. But if you want to be eligible for a loan, one of these commercial loans, you need to have somebody in the fold who already owns a similar asset. Okay, so even if you're Elon Musk, if you want to buy a 350 unit apartment complex and you want to get a loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset. Then there are a couple other things you need. One is the liquidity, a certain amount of liquidity. And then the other thing is you need a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Lee, as far as core competencies, which you're most likely to contribute to your next deal, what do you got? What do you do?
Yeah, I would say being local, Dan. We're here in the Midwest, and there's still good cash flowing deals here. So we're finding some deals, and we, as I kind of mentioned, I started out, I kind of took the path of starting real small and kind of, it was fun listening to you go through those. I totally agree with those. And starting out, I did all of them. When we had a duplex, I did everything. I was all of those things because, just buying a duplex, you don't have to have a big balance sheet, right? So I kind of did all those things. It's not a commercial deal, to your point. Right. You need all those with the commercial deal. But I kind of started small, and then because I did a duplex, and I guess I did have to bring in the key principal when we did the 16 unit, but I was still doing so many of those things. And so now as we get bigger, you just start adding more people to the team. But I'm still the local guy, still the boots on the ground. I enjoy operations, but I wouldn't even say that because we use property management. And then actually my business partner, he's more of the guy that runs the property management or manages the property manager and is kind of more operations, but we're the boots on the ground. We're local. We buy local and we operate our deals. So we might partner with some people that want to bring money and maybe, keep the books for us and kind of do some other pieces, but we're the people that are here on the ground with the deals.
All right, awesome. So as a local, it's more obvious about the geography, but the next question I always have is what your ideal property is. So when commercial investors are talking to each other and saying, hey, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? There's three main things that they're asking for. First one's geography. So what state is it in? What county is it in? What neighborhood, even possibly, is the ideal property? And we're talking about what is easier to say yes to and what's more difficult to say no to. The second thing in a commercial property is going to be the unit count. Of course, if it's industrial or if it's warehousing, you're going to be talking about square footage. But if you're talking about multifamily, self-storage, retail, all of those, there's going to be a unit count. And, as you were saying earlier, Lee, about doing it yourself when you're on a single family or a duplex or something like that, a quadplex, anything like that, that makes lots of sense. But once it gets big enough, it's just not possible to be all the different sides of the die. So the unit count is super duper relevant. But the last thing that they're going to want to know is the class. And unfortunately, in my view, they use the word class for two different things. One is the condition of the actual building. So is it beat up? Is it immaculate? Are are the toilets gold plated? Okay, that goes into the condition of the building. And then the other meaning of the word class, it has to do with the neighborhood it's in. So you're talking crime rate. You're talking about how good are the schools nearby, the school district for the property. So those are the three main things that they're asking for. And the class, they go for the same as grade schools. So it's like A plus, B minus, and so on, as far as those properties go. So as far as an ideal property that somebody might bring to you, what are you looking for, Lee?
Sure. Yeah, great question, Dan. So yeah, we want to buy local. So we're here, Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio. I would be up for, a couple hours outside of this area as well. What I would say, unit count is very important, especially to me, if you want to be the operator, but invest a little bit further away. And to me, you got to be over 100 units if you want to do that. I would say, we've got a really good team in Dayton and we have 3 other properties there. So I would buy a 40 unit in Dayton because I can just add that in. And, we've already got a presence there. We got property management. They can just take that 40 unit, but I would not buy that in Indianapolis because we don't have a presence there. And so I would want to buy something 100 units or more where we can have a property management company that's regional that operates properties like that. And we'll put somebody on site. And so it depends a little bit. If we're local, I'll buy something smaller, 40 to 100 units. If we are outside of this area, I want 100 units and up. Best answer to your question for us would be for the third part is C class in a B area. It's easy to say. I mean, I guess even better than that would be C class property in an A area.
Right.
And frankly, man, after buying a lot of C class and managing a lot of C class, I would love to buy B class. Honestly, I'm not really interested in A class. That worries me in like recessionary times and stuff. Even though, a lot of people say that they do the best during recessions, I'd rather be in C and B, but man, the competition out there for B class is just more than I can stomach. I cannot make the numbers work when I look at B class stuff. So we're happy to play in the C class area and or C class buildings. If they're in a B class area, that's great. Frankly, even that's hard to find. So we're typically buying C class buildings in C class areas and just making them a little bit nicer and bringing rent up to where it is today, even because the owners that we're buying from haven't kept up with the inflation that we've seen.
Okay, good stuff. And so, like, if that's the case, then as far as vintage goes, you're thinking like after 80s, like the 1980s?
Yeah, I would love for it to be after 80s. In
Okay.
Cincinnati and Dayton, Midwest, we've got a lot of 60s and 70s, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of stuff I see is 60s, 70s. Mid 70s, I'm, feeling better. I love anything, newer than 80s. I love it. Some people are like, got to be 2000s and newer. If it's just at least past 80s, we're usually not talking about any cast iron plumbing. You don't have to worry about electrical. So I love 1980s and newer.
Perfect. And then as far as people to reach out to you, like we've said again and again, commercial's a team sport and we're all better suited to help people. But we all have some people specifically that we're better equipped to help. Me personally, it's the sponsors and KPs. And that's because my background is in marketing and technology. So you kind of have to have something going for you before I can be really a lot of help. And so that's why I tend to focus on sponsors and KPs. But without breaking any SEC restrictions. So if you got any 506B deals, you're not allowed to entice investors. If you have a 506C deal, you can go right ahead. But so without enticing investors, who are you best suited to help? Beginners, intermediate, established people, operators, contractors. Who is it?
Yeah, sure. Good point. We do 506B, so I won't advertise any deals or anything that we're working on. But what we try to the people we try to educate, and you're doing a great job educating Dan, and the people we're trying to educate are high income earners, people with some money, and they, a lot of people we're talking to today, Dan, have money in the stock market, and they're starting to feel, a little uneasy about the stock market, and they're thinking, man, my money manager says I'm diversified, but it's all in the stock market. So how diversified am I? And they say, I want to get diversified into real estate. So those are the people we can help. But then also, Dan, I do talk to a lot of young investors that are where I was, just a couple of years ago. So I like helping those people as well. So passive investors and active investors, or people that are looking to get active.
All right, sweet. And as far as the best way to reach you, we met through Yona's challenge and through LinkedIn and whatnot.
LinkedIn, yep.
Is LinkedIn the best way to reach you, or is there a website that's better, or how should people reach out?
Yeah, LinkedIn is where I'm most active. So if you look for Lee Yoder on LinkedIn, you'll find me. You can message me on there. But we have a great website, Dan, that's just threefoldrei.com. So that's threefold spelled out, THREEFOLD, REI as in realestateinvesting.com. you can find all about us there and reach out to us through that too.
All right, beautiful. And the only thing that I have left is actually for you, which is if you look under my left hand, you'll see this. If you're on a phone, it's ugly red writing, but on a desktop, it's this big, huge, ugly red button. It says subscribe, and I hate it. The only way to get rid of that awful button is to click on it, and it'll turn gray, which the gray one's amazing. You should see it, like, if you just check out the gray one is so amazing. You'll just click it and you'll be like, wow. But the thing that you don't know is, what does it do? It doesn't cost you anything, but it does have a magical power, which means YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. And you want that, right? Especially if it costs you nothing. And just full transparency, what it actually does is it means that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions. And then if you get enough subscribers and views or whatnot, then they start paying you. But you can go ahead and ignore the videos in your suggestions if you want, because you've already done me an enormous favor by watching and hitting that button. Just like Lee, you've done me an enormous favor by joining me today. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me, Dan.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Chance Encounters. Make sure you do 506B Me after this. And the way that works for you, if you want to be a 506B Me member, if you're at a live event, a conference, or in a Zoom call or something like that, all you have to do is have your very own QR code that comes when you sign up. And then if somebody has their own QR code scanner, just like this, then my one has it in its phone automatically, so I can scan even faces and stuff. But you just scan the code just like that, and then it'll add you to their watch list. So that way you can they can watch your video, make sure that you're compliant, know your level of sophistication, and all that kind of fun stuff that the SEC wants us to do. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Thanks a lot. Bye.